Hello everyone, this is Junaid here from Edureka and I welcome you all to this session in which I'm going to talk about game development using PyGames. So without any further delay, let's take a look at today's agenda. We'll start this session by understanding what is PyGame framework. Then we shall discuss how we can install PyGame on our system. Moving ahead, we shall see a few of the most commonly used terms in PyGames. Finally, we'll end this session by looking at the general structure of PyGame application and see how we can build our own game. Before we begin, do consider subscribing to our channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated on trending technologies. And also, if you are looking for online training certification in Python, check out the link given in the description box below. So what is a PyGame framework? Well, you see, PyGame is a cross-platform set of Python modules designed for writing video games. It includes computer graphics and sound libraries designed to be used by Python programming language. I'm sure you might be wondering, how does PyGame work, right? Like usually we use low-level language such as C programming to develop our games. Well, the logic behind this is that PyGame uses a simple direct media layer library. With this intention, it allows real-time computer game development without the use of low-level mechanics of C programming language and its derivatives. This is based on the assumption that most of the expensive function inside a game can be abstracted from game logic, making it possible to use high-level programming language such as Python to create a game. Alright then, so let us now move ahead and see how we can install PyGame on our system. In order for you to install PyGame on your system, it is very essential that you have Python pre-installed. If you don't have Python installed, all you need to do is go to python.org website and download Python. Once you have installed Python, all you can do is just open up Python command prompt and type pip install PyGame. Once you hit enter, all the dependencies will automatically install over here. Then in order to cross-verify whether you have successfully installed PyGame or not, then all you need to do is import PyGame library. Alright then, now that we know what is PyGame and how to install it, let's now see a few of the most commonly used terms in PyGame. First off, we have PyGame initialization. To initialize a PyGame library, we use something called as pygame.init function. This will import all the PyGame modules. Although you can initialize individual modules manually, but pygame.initialization will ensure that we have all the required packages, and this will reduce our chances of having an exception. And apart from that, this is the most convenient way to get started with PyGames. Moving ahead, let us now see what is an application window. Application window is responsible for displaying all the contents of the game. We can initialize and have only one application window. Any changes that are to be performed are based on the manipulation of positions of images. These images are also referred to as surfaces. Next to the most important part, that is nothing but the game loop. Game loop is an infinitely long-running loop that stops only when an application window is closed. This performs important tasks like constantly looking out for user inputs and then ensuring those inputs are applied in a game logic. Finally, it is also responsible for updating our window screen. Now that we have a small intuition about PyGame library, let me now give you a quick overview of how PyGame application would work and look like. Alright, so let me now quickly move to a canvas and show you how an application over here would run like. Alright, so first off, when we are dealing with our PyGame, right, we have something called as the application window. And our application window would be something like this. Okay, and we can have, as I've mentioned earlier, we can have only one application window. Alright, and within this application window, we can add a couple of things such as background, we can add titles, and we can also add icon. Okay, apart from that, couple of things that are to be noted over here is when we try to add multiple images, right, these images are nothing but the surface. And the way how images work over here are, first we have to load our image. Alright, first we will be loading our image, and only once we have loaded our image, we'll be adding this loaded part over here to our application window. We'll use something called as the blip function. Alright, now in order for you to update your screen, right, like now you might be wondering, like, I have a screen like this and I want a person to move from, say, a position over here to a position over here. So this is the responsibility of an event loop. Event loop is an infinitely long running loop which will execute as long as our application window is still on. And once you close your application window, this would cease to execute. So the way the objects over here or the images over here update is because, for every event loop, right, or the game loop, a body over here will move with a very small distance. And this would give a perception to a human eye as if a person is moving from point A to point B by a normal flow, rather than looking at it like as if something has disappeared and all of a sudden appeared over here, right? So this is what a simple analogy about, PyGame application and how the PyGame application window would look like and run. Okay. And one more thing that I would like to add over here is we have something called as event handlers. Event handlers are responsible for taking any kind of input from the end user. They are constantly listening for input from either keyboard or a mouse. All right, so now that we know how our application would run and how our application would look like, let me now quickly move to my code editor and show you how we can create our own space war game. All right, so as you can see over here, I have come to my code editor, and the code editor that I'm going to use over here is PyCharm. And I've already created a .py file, that's a main.py file, and all the requirements that are needed, right? All the images, I have kept it over here in my folder. Let me first move to my presentation mode over here. So first thing that we're going to do over here is import our PyGame library. So let me quickly write that, import PyGame. And once we're done with this, as I've mentioned earlier, the next most important task is to initialize our PyGame libraries. Okay, so to do that, all we'll do is pygame.initialize, that is init. So now that we have initialized our PyGame libraries and the framework, let's create a screen, right? As I mentioned, we need to create a window. Okay, we need to create a window. The size over here of our window would be something like 800 cross 600. So let's see how we can implement that over here. So we'll give a word over here as screen, or let's give it as window, right? So window, this would be nothing but pygame.display, all right, and set mode. And as you can see here, we are supposed to pass a tuple value wherein we'll be passing the length and the breadth of our application window. So here we'll give it as 800 and then we'll give as 600. Okay, so let us now execute our code and see what it would look like. So as you can see here, right, like a black screen appeared and then it disappeared all of a sudden. Have you ever wondered why is this happening? Do you think there's any kind of error that is happening here? Well, no, there is no error here. The reason that the window is appearing and disappearing is because, the window is appearing as long as it's executing all of these. But it will cease to execute once, this line of code has been executed. So in order to overcome this, we'll use something called as the infinite loop or a game loop. Okay, so this is while true, just pass. Now, once I execute this, you will see that our game window over here appears, but it will not close. The reason is because we haven't passed any logic. But this is the game window. All right, and this is the height and the length and the breadth over here that I've passed. All right, so let's now provide a title to our application window here and also give an icon. Fine. So let me quickly close this. Let's also fix this over here. Like here it's saying window is not responding, right? So we'll quickly find a solution that will not give us that prompt. So to start off, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do some modification to our while loop. So I'm going to take while running, and then I'm going to initialize running here. This would be true. So now what we'll do is, in order to close our application window, every time I hit the close button, right, it should close. So in order to capture that close button, we'll use something called as event handlers. Okay, so let me give a comment over here and write event handler, or let it be event loop. So now what we'll do is we'll write for event in pygame.event.getEvent. What this would return is a list, and this would have, if you press any kind of button, right, it will be captured here and sent in the form of a list. So now what we'll do is we'll go through each and every list. So if event.type is equal to pygame.quit, that is nothing but if we hit the cross button or close button, then what we want is we'll change the instance of running to false. All right, and now what we'll do is once the while loop is executed, all I want is pygame.quit, right? So pygame.quit. All right, so let us now execute our code and see what it would look like. Okay, so now we have an application window. This is something very similar to what it was before, but the only difference that we'll see now is, in order for me to close this, all I need to do is press this close button. and voila, you can see here that we are not getting that error anymore. Now let's do something. Let's add some heading as well as an icon to our application over here. So to add the title to our application window, it's pretty simple. What we'll do is we'll do PyGame.display.setCaption, and now what we'll give here is our name of our window or an application. So it's going to be Space Invaders. You can give whatever you want. You can give Space Wars. It's up to you. All right. And now we'll also add an icon here. So let's see how we can add it. So let's give a variable icon, and this would be nothing but PyGame.image.load. So we are trying to load the image, whichever is there, and this is present in my requirements, and the image over there is icon. All right. So this is the image that I have. Now I want to add this icon to our application window. So it's pretty simple to do. All we'll do is PyGame.display.setIcon, and I'm going to pass an icon here. So let me now quickly execute this and show you how this would look like. So okay, so as you can see here, we have changed the title, we have changed it to Space Invaders, and then we have also changed the icon of our application window. So now we can do a couple more things over here. We can add a background color here. So in order to do that, what I'll do is I'll be taking a window.fill, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass an RGB color values. So I'm going to pass a tuple wherein I'll give an RGB values like 255. I'm just randomly giving a number. Let's see what this color would look like. So this is one color pattern, and let me quickly execute this. We are not getting a color over here. Have you wondered why? The reason is because we haven't updated our application window. So let us now see how we can update our application window. To update our application window, all you need to do is use PyGame.display.update. A quick tip that I would like to mention over here is make sure you mention this PyGame.display.update at the last. Okay, it should be within this while loop, but it should be the last component over here. This is because it has to update all the values which is above this, right? So let us now quickly execute this now. So you can see here the color is changing up, right? So it's no more the plain old black color. So now that we have seen how we can upload and how we can change and add icon to our application window, let's load the images like such as Space War, our alien, and also a bullet, and see how we can create a game. To start off, let me go over here and let me load our image. Let's say a spaceman. Okay, so spaceship. Okay, I'm just giving a comment over here. All right, so let me load our image. So in order to load our image, it's pretty simple. It's going to be spaceship. Let's give some variable, and it's all we'll do is pygame.image.load, and now we'll pass our file name. So it's going to be, it's within the requirements, and the name of the image is spaceship, right? Okay, let me just go back here and get our name. Okay, so it's gonna be Space Invaders. We have loaded our image. Now we need to display this image, right? So in order to display the image, what we'll do is we'll obviously have to use something called as blit, which I've mentioned. But what we'll do is we'll put this in a form of a function. This is just so that we can reuse our code. So we'll have a function which is defined here. So let it say def display spaceship. And now what we'll do is we'll pass here window.blit. We'll pass our spaceship, and then we'll pass the position of our x and y coordinates. So it's going to be x, y. And the arguments that we are going to pass over here is x and y. This x and y is nothing but the position which we're going to define over here now. Okay, so let's say spaceship. Let's say x-axis over here. This would be nothing but half of our size of a window. So it should be like 400. And then spaceship, it's for the y. This is going to be, let's say 500. So let's now call this method and pass these arguments over here. So I'm going to go here and type it as spaceship, display spaceship, and let's pass some arguments over here. Spaceship x and then spaceship y. All right, so let us now see where our application or our spaceship would be. So let me run this again. So as you can see here that we have our spaceship which is present over here in the bottom. Now you might be wondering, like, how do I decide the position over here? Well, you see, when we are dealing with PyGame, right? The way the convention of plotting works is this is the origin over here. This part over here, this corner part represents the origin. And the value of x increases from left to right. And the value of y increases as I move bottom. Conventionally, it is opposite way around, right? So when I move from bottom to up, the value increases. But this is not the case in PyGames. If I go up over here, something like this, the value will decrease. It will go in negative. And similarly over here. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to move our spaceship along the x-axis. So let's see how we can manipulate the position of our spaceship. So let me close this application window here. So in order to manipulate our position, right, all I'm going to do is I'll create one variable here. So let's say spaceship position, spaceship variable position. And let's give it as like 0.3. So although this is a small value, we'll obviously increase this later. So let's see what would happen. Now we have to increase our position here. But before that, what we'll do is we have to capture the event, right? So whenever I press left or right, my spaceship should move either in the respective direction. So how would I do that? That's obviously by using event handlers. So let's now see what we can do. So we know that this event loop captures all the input from the end user. So what we'll do is we have something called as event.type is equal to PyGame.keyDown. Okay, when the key is pressed down, what kind of this thing is that? So it's going to be if event.key is equal to PyGame.right key, right? So it's going to be key right. All right, so if I click the right key, what I want is spaceship variable position to be moving by 5. All right, so similarly, we are going to do this for the left hand side, but over here, the position will be in negative. So let me copy this whole thing here and paste it over here. And instead of positive, we are going to be negative here. And then this is going to be k left. And now we also want to see, what would happen when we when a key is pressed up, right? So what we'll do is if event.key is equal to PyGame. Sorry, this is going to be outside the key up, right? So it's going to be outside this part here. So it's going to be something like if event.type is equal to PyGame.key up. Okay, so if it's key up, what we're going to do is if event.key is equal to PyGame.key left, or the same thing, it's going to be key right, right? So let me just copy it from here. So what we're going to do over here is we are going to space our spaceship variable, this position to 0. Okay, so let's say something like this would be equal to 0. That means we don't want our spaceship to move, right? So let me just give you a quick recap of what I've done. So over here, I'm trying to capture the event. So we know that event loop is responsible for capturing the events. Okay, first off, this over here is responsible for capturing the close button of a window. This is something which I have already discussed. Now what we are trying to achieve is we want to move our spaceship either left or in the right side direction. So every time I have a key down and I'm pressing a right key, I want it to move our spaceship by 5 pixels. Every time I click my left hand key, it should move by -5 position. And every time I click up, right, so every time I leave my key, it should be something like it shouldn't click or it shouldn't change the position of a spaceship. So let's now see how we can update this position here. So first off, let me remove this and initialize this to 0. As we are just trying to change the value of x, so what we'll do is we'll give it as spaceship x is, this would be nothing but spaceship variable position. All right, so let's now see what this would look like. Okay, so we have a spaceship. Now if I press a left key or right key, it should move, right? So it's moving. Couple of things that I would like to do is it's moving pretty fast. We can change that by changing the values there. Apart from that, once it comes outside the frame, it's trying to disappear, right? So we don't want that. We want the boundaries over here. So let's quickly fix that. And in order to fix that, what we'll do is every time the spaceship reaches this particular position, right? So this would be from 0, as our width is 800. I guess it would be around 700 or 730 or something. and over here it's going to be something like 0, right? So every time it reaches 0, the spaceship position would remain the same. All right, so let me now quickly execute that. Okay, so let's give a comment over here. So as we are dealing with spaceship, so let me give it as spaceship logic. Okay, and over here I'll have a if condition, and the if condition over here would be something like if spaceship, that is nothing but x value, right? If it is less than equal to 0, then what I want to do is the spaceship x position over here would remain at 0. And similarly, I will do it for the uppercase. So if spaceship is greater than equal to 736. The reason why I'm taking 736 but the window size is 800 is because I'm also calculating the position or the size of our ship, right? So it's going to be 64. The size of our ship is nothing but 64, right? 64 cross 64. So if it at this position, it has to remain at the same position. So it's going to be 736. All right. So this is how we can manipulate the position. And let's now quickly see if this is working fine. Okay, so we have a spaceship and now it's not going with outside our application window. All right. So we can also change the value or the rate at which this is moving. All we need to do is we have to change the value of this part here. So if I change this to 0.3, it would move pretty slow. But as it's 0.5, it would be like pretty quick. I won't be manipulating that values. So now that we have added our spaceship, we have a couple more things to add. We also have to add something like the aliens, right? Who are trying to attack our ship. So let's now load the image for aliens. Although the procedure here remains absolutely same, all we would do is like aliens. Okay, so let's give it as aliens and let's load our alien image. So it's pretty simple. Everything is going to be the same. So what we'll do is pygame.image.load. Now what we have is it's within our requirements folder, and the image that I have over here, let me see, is going to be alien. All right, so let me quickly load this up and let me copy this very same thing because it's almost the same, right? We don't want to change the position here much. So let me just copy this here and just change this part. So now that we have created our alien, or we have loaded our alien image, now we have to call this in our application window. So let me quickly go down to my application window. Now that we are dealing with our alien, let me just give it as aliens. And let's call our function that is nothing but display aliens, right? So we'll have aliens here. And the thing that we're going to pass is nothing but alien position, right? So it's going to be alien X and then alien Y. All right, so if I execute this as it is, right, this alien will be overlapped with our X value, right? It's the spaceship X value. So let me just quickly show you that once. So our alien which is present here, it's kind of overlapping. We don't want that. We want this alien to be present in multiple places. So let's see how we can fix that up. All right, so there's a couple of things that I would like to say over here is when we're trying to deal with our space invaders, right? You know, if I keep this at 400 and 500, it doesn't make sense because this is present exactly where spaceship is there, right? So let me just quickly execute this. So it's over here. It doesn't make any sense, right? We want this to be present somewhere over here on top. So let's quickly fix that up, and we want it to randomly initialize. So in order to do that, what we'll do is we'll use something called random. To do random, we'll import random module over here. So import random. All right, so now that we have imported random, let me go back to our alien and we'll have random rand_int. We are supposed to give the value, it's going to be 0 to 800. So this is along the x-axis, it can be anywhere, but for alien in the y-axis, we don't want it throughout, right? So it's going to be random.rand_int. Let's restrict it from 50 from top, and it will range all the way to 150 over here. And over here, the position of x and y would change, like variable position. So we'll give x, this would be nothing but 4, and then alien, let's give it as y, and this would again be 4. Okay, so now what we'll do is we have to display this over here. For this, we are gonna add our values over here. So let's quickly see that. We have called our aliens here. Let me first execute this and see how it would look like. So now, as you can see here, right, before it was present somewhere near the spaceship, but now it's present here. And now if I try to restart our kernel over here, you will see that it will be randomly initialized somewhere else. I hope this image is pretty small. Let me just quickly change this image. Let me see if I have any extra image. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, so I guess this would work. We have 64 cross 64 image, and let me execute this now. Okay, so this is a spaceship. No, this is not the one. Let me quickly see here. All right, so I found this alien image, and let me execute this once again. All right, so this is a perfect size. So this is our alien, and every time I try to execute this kernel over here, you will see that alien gets initialized in random positions over here. So now what we want to do is we want to move this alien from left to right, and every time it moves from left to right, it should go down, and every time it reaches from left to right or right to left, it should move down. So let's now write that code. So for this, what we'll do is we'll create something called as aliens. Anyways, we have done that. So now what we have to do is we have to update the position of X, right? So alien X is nothing but alien, the position of X. So it would be moving by X axis, right? So this would be moving in a zigzag direction. So now what we'll do is if we don't want it to go outside the boundary, right? So it's going to be if alien X, the position over here is less than equal to 0. That is on the left, extreme left corner. What we'll do is alien X position over here would be equal to 4, but the value of Y would decrease. Okay, so it would move down. So it's going to be alien Y, or the alien at position Y. This would go down. So this is going to be alien variable position Y. Similarly, we are going to do it for the other corner. So if alien X is greater than equal to 736, so alien X over here would remain at 736. At the same time over here, alien X, sorry, it would be alien Y position would be minus alien variable position Y. Perfect, right? So let us now quickly see how this would look like. So first off, let me execute this here. So as you can see, our alien has moved in a haphazard manner. Okay, to fix this, right? So what we'll do is we'll just change the position or the value over here. So we'll change it to 0.3 so that it moves slowly. And also we'll change a couple of values here. Yeah, this looks perfect actually. So let me quickly execute this once again. Okay, so our alien is moving up over here. We don't want that. We want our alien to move down every time it comes. So in order to fix that, all we are going to do is we'll change it to plus. Okay, so let me execute this once again. So as you can see here that now our alien moves, and every time it reaches the extreme corner, it will come down. But now it has gone completely down, which we really don't want, right? So now what we are going to do is, in order to fix that issue, all I'm going to do is change this positive to minus. Let me quickly run this again and show you how it would look like. It's moving pretty quick, right? So even the spaceship is moving pretty quick. In order to slow this down, what we'll do is we'll just change the value here. Instead of 4, let's give it as 0.3. Similarly, instead of 4, it's going to be 0.3 here. And then instead of 4, it's going to be 0.3 here as well. And the same goes here. So let me quickly execute this now. So as you can see here, our space or the alien over here is moving pretty slow. All right. So in our next stage over here, what we are going to do is we'll be adding our background. Once we add our background, what's going to happen is it will take long time to render that image. So we have to change these positions, right? Whatever we have kept it as from 4 to 0.3, we have to change it back. Okay. So first off, let's now import or load our background image. So let's give it as background image. I'll give the name over here as BG, which would stand for background. So it's the same procedure, pygame.image.load. All right, so I'll go for requirements. All right, so let's see what are the images that I have. Okay, so I can give this background image over here. And now in order to put this background image on our window, what we'll do is I'll just comment this off. We don't want the fill. Instead of fill, what we'll do is window.blit, and we are going to pass our background and obviously a tuple value, which would be at 0,0. So let me quickly execute this and see if our background image has come. So let me run this now. So as you can see here, now our spaceship is moving pretty quick and our alien is moving in a very snail pace, right? So we want to increase that up. So let's quickly fix that by changing the values over here to 4 and these values over here as well. And let me change the values in the bottom. So this will be from minus 3.0 to it will be minus 4, and the same goes here. And let me run this now. So as you can see now that our spaceship is moving pretty fluently, as well as our alien. So now what we're going to do is we need a couple of bullets, right? So these bullets would be moving all the way from our spaceship. Okay, so the bullets over here, it would be hidden inside the spaceship, and only once I trigger it, the bullet would come out and it has to attack this particular part, alien over here. So let's see how we can implement that particular logic. So first off, we have to import our bullet image here. Okay, so let's import our bullet image. So let's go on top before our while loop, and over here we'll type as bullet. So the first thing that we are going to do is import our bullet. So to do that, all we need to do is we'll have bullet, and same thing like before, it's going to be pygame.image.load, and now we are going to pass the path. So it's going to be requirements slash followed by our bullet image over here. Okay, now that we have loaded our bullet image, we need the position of x. So bullet underscore x, we'll give it as 0 because this would be the position of this would be exactly similar to the position of our spaceship, right? And then the value of bullet y over here, we'll change it to y, and this would be 480. And now to have a variable value, so bullet variable position along the y-axis, this would be something similar to what we have done here. And let's give some random number 8. Okay, so this 8 over here represents the speed by which it would go. And the thing over here is we'll have something called as state. So let's say b underscore state. So this bullet, right, we don't want it to be visible. Only when I hit the escape button, I want it to be visible, right? So every time I hit the escape button, the bullet would be fired out. And now in order to print our bullet, we'll have a function here. So it will be def bullets, or let's give it as fire bullet. And now I'm going to pass a value over here. I'm going to pass x and y. And in order to print this, it's pretty simple. It's going to be window.blit. We need to take the value over here, bullet, and then we'll pass a tuple value of x comma y. So now we are supposed to call this value. Apart from that, we also have to initialize our escape button, right? So we'll do both of them now. First off, we'll call our bullet over here. So let it be just after our spaceship. So let's give a comment here as bullet logic. So first off, what we want to do is only if the state is true, right? We want to fire the bullet. So if bullet, okay, let's see what name I have given here for the state. Okay, it's b state, right? So b state. So let's come back here. It's going to be b underscore state. That's nothing but if b state. If it's false, we won't be able to see it. So if b state, or if it's true, then what we want is the position of a bullet minus equal to bullet variable position y. And now we'll call our position of a bullet. So it's going to be our function. It was fire bullet, right? So fire bullets. And now we'll pass the bullet present at the x-axis and then bullet at y-axis. And then we'll also add some 15 pixels just so that it looks like it's fired from the center, right? So let me add 15 over here as well. And now apart from that, we also have to release the state, right? So it's like we can do that later. So now let's focus more on our state, right? So we have to make the state true because as of now, the state is false. So in order to make our state true, what we're going to do is we need something like for escape key, right? We have to capture our escape key. So we'll go here to key down, pretty similar to what we did. So if event.key, so it's going to be key space, right? Okay. And only if the bullet state is false. We don't want it to be like randomly getting initialized. So we'll give as bullet state, which is nothing but b state is equal to false. Okay. Now what will happen is we will have bullet state will be true. And the position of our bullet x, right? So I told the x-axis is something that would be similar to that of a spaceship, right? So we'll give it as bullet x. It's like it's going to be spaceship x. All right, so now let's see whether our bullet is working or not. So let me quickly execute this program. Okay, so we are having this error over here. So let's kind of fix this. Let's see where we are going wrong. Okay, let me quickly execute this once again and see what was the error. Okay, so every time I hit this over here, it says surface PyGame.surface. Okay, so unsupported for minus equals. Okay, it must be some naming convention error, line number 90, right? So let me quickly see over here. Over here, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to append or change the value of a bullet, right? So this is not going to work. Over here, it's going to be for our position of Y. Okay, so let's now execute this once again. So now as you can see here, I can shoot out a bullet. But as you can see here, once the bullet has been fired, we are not getting the bullet back even after hitting an escape key, right? So what we're going to do is every time this bullet touches this part over here or the 0 over here, it has to come back to this part and we'll initialize the state to false. So what happens with this is next time when I hit escape key, the bullet is going to fire up. Okay, so in order to do that, it's pretty simple. All I'm going to do is if bullet Y, okay, if it is less than equal to 0, it means it has crossed the frame. Then what it's going to do is bullet Y, this would come back to 480, which is nothing but the position of a spaceship, and then the bullet shape or the state, right? So B state, it's going to be false. So let us now execute this and see how it would look like. Okay, so now that I have fired a bullet, so as you can see here, right, every time I fire a bullet, I can fire it back once again. But it's pretty slow, so let me increase the speed over here. So it's pretty simple. In order to increase the speed, all I'm going to do is change from, I guess it was 8. So let's give something like 17 and let me execute this once again. So now as you can see here, I can shoot out pretty quick. Alright, so in our next task, what we're going to do is we need multiple aliens, and another thing is we have to detect the score, right? We have to detect the score, we have to print the score over here on top, and every time my bullet collides with this particular alien, it should give out some score value or some points. Okay, so let me quickly show you how we can do that. So in order to do that, first off, what we'll do is we'll create multiple aliens. Okay, so in order to create multiple aliens, it's a pretty simple step. So all we're going to do is we're going to create a list, and within that list we are going to append different aliens. So let me go here to the place where I have initialized our aliens. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy the entire part here and then have a new parameter which says number of aliens. Okay, let me give it an underscore over here. So let's give number of aliens as 5. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have a for loop for I in range number of aliens. So now what we'll do is we'll append these values over here. So it's pretty simple. First off, we'll keep this, we'll just paste this here, and instead of this having equal to, all we'll do is append, and then I'm going to close this over here. Similarly, we're going to do the same over here for rest of the parameters. So it's going to be append and paste it here, and same goes to this part. So what about these values, right? So all we're going to do is we're going to convert all of these values to a list. So let me quickly remove this as well, and this should be replaced by a list. Same goes for rest of the parameters. All right, so now once we have done this change, right, we also have to change the way we have displayed our image, right? If I'm not wrong, if we go down to our logic where we have written for our alien, right, so this thing no longer holds good, right? The reason is because we don't have alien underscore x, we have a list of alien underscore x. So in order to fix that, what we'll do is we'll have a for loop which will run through the number of aliens. So let me quickly show you how we can do that. So first off, we'll have a for loop. So it's going to be for I in range. So it's going to be number of aliens. And now what we'll do is we will try to put this, give a nice indentation here, and wherever we have alien, we'll just give it as I, and same goes over here. I hope you understand why we are taking the list of I over here. The reason is because we have converted, as we'll be having multiple aliens, we obviously need to, mark each and every alien, right? So that's the reason why I'm giving I, and here it represents the alien in that particular list. Another parameter that we're going to pass over here is I, and now what we'll do is we also have to change this over here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pass the alien I. This represents which alien in this particular list. All right. So, and over here, the reason why you're passing xi and yi, that is nothing but which element of the list. The reason is because we have multiple positions of x and y. Apart from this, we also have to find the collision, right? So let's quickly see how we can implement that. But before that, let us now execute this thing over here. So let me execute this. So as you can see here, we have multiple aliens. Now, every time I can fire a bullet over here, and these aliens are also dropping down. They are changing their position. They're moving from left to right, as well as with every iteration or every cycle, they are changing the position. So only thing that is left over here is to detect the collision between the bullet and our alien. Apart from that, we also have to see the score. So let me now quickly show you how we can implement our collision. So in order to detect the collision, right, what we're going to do here is we're going to use a very simple logic. Although there are two ways. One way is that we can encapsulate our entire component over here with a rectangle. So let me quickly show you what I mean by that. So think that this is our image, right? So if this is our alien, so we can encapsulate the entire thing over here with the rectangle. Same goes for each and every alien over here. We can encapsulate each of their faces with a rectangle. And every time a bullet encounters this, right? So every time one rectangle encounters another rectangle, we can use if conditions and we can see if there's a collision that has occurred. The other easy way is to find the distance between this particular alien and the bullet. If it's within that particular range, we can say that, the collision has occurred. So let us now see how we can implement this. First off, let's create a function over here which says collision. So let me go after the bullets. So we'll create a function. So we'll call it as, first of all, let me give a comment here saying collision. And now we'll create a function def collision detection. So now a couple of parameters that I'm going to pass is the parameter of our invaders and the parameter of our bullet, right? So we need to have our alien parameter. So it's going to be alien. Okay, let me see what value I've given here. So it's going to be aliens, right? So yeah. So this is going to be X. This is going to be Y. Similarly, we need to do that for our bullet. So it's going to be bullet X and then bullet Y. So now what we're going to do is, in order to find the distance between these two, all we need to find is, it's going to be the square root of sum of difference between each of these parameters. So let me import, in order to perform the square root, we need math module. So import math. Okay. So it's going to be distance. It will be nothing but math.sqrt. All right. And now it has to be the power of 2, right? So if you remember, it's going to be a square, a minus b the whole square plus b minus c the whole square to the power of root, right? So what we're going to do is we'll have alien x minus bullet x. And this has to be the power of 2. So it's going to be math dot power. So we'll pass this over here. And then we'll need a power of 2. And this is going to be the sum. And similarly, we are going to do that over here, math dot power. So it's going to be alien y minus bullet y position, comma 2. Perfect. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have some threshold. If distance is less than 20, right, then return true, which means there's a collision, else return false. So now where we're going to place this position or this particular function is within this big for loop over here within the alien, right? So let's now capture this. So this is pretty simple. All we need to do is paste this over here. So we'll have an if statement here, if collision detection. So this is going to be alien. So let's see what value we have given here. Oh yeah, the reason why we're getting an error is because we have to pass this as a list. And then we'll also have this as an uppercase, and this will be position I. Okay, so if this is true, right, then what we're going to do is we'll have a bullet. The position of bullet Y would be back to normal. It will reach back to spaceship, and we want to change the bullet state. So it's going to be bullet state will be false. And apart from that, we have to increase the value of score. So we'll randomly initialize one score value here. let's say before our event loop, we'll say score is equal to 0. So now that score is equal to 0, every time when we give this score plus 1, that is every time we have a collision, right? So let me see where our logic for this thing is. So we want our score plus equal to 1, and then we'll print our score. So one more thing that we can add over here is every time I hit an alien, right, we want to change or we want to reinitialize their position. So in order to do that, all we can do is alien x position. This would be nothing but random dot randint. This would range anywhere from 0 to 735. That is anywhere in the x-axis, and then same way for alien y. This would be random dot randint. So we'll give it as the same value, so 50, 150. So let me now execute this. Okay, so we have multiple aliens here. Let's see what happens when we try to perform or when you try to attack them. Although it's pretty slow, it's not going to be fast. So as you can see here, just now I hit an alien and we have a point, and the position or the value of the alien has changed, right? So similarly, the reason why we are getting this, it's taking some time is because it has to reach the exact position. Okay, so now what we want to do is we will try to display our score over here on top, right? So to do that, it's pretty simple. We need to define a font. So let's quickly do that. Let's go to the place where we have defined our score here. So we'll copy this score, and now what we'll do is we'll give one nice title here, scoring system. All right, so now what's going to happen is we'll give the score value here. Obviously it would be 0, and now we have to define the font, what kind of font you want. So it's going to be font, this is going to be PyGame dot font. So PyGame is going to give us one free font, so it's going to be something like free sans sans bold .ttf. okay, and then we're going to pass 32 over here. All right, and now what we'll do is we'll have x value, that is 10, and then we'll give capital Y value. This is going to be 10 again. So now in order to display the score, we'll write a function here, def display score. Okay, and what we're going to pass here are x and y values. All right, so now first off we have to render the score here. So we'll give here as s is equal to font dot render. So the way we want over here is score. So over here we have to convert our score value to string. So it's going to be str dot score. Apart from that, we'll pass true here, and then the color. So we'll just give a random color, like this color was good, so we'll give it as 255, 0, 45. So once we have rendered our font, what we're going to do is we'll add this to a window. So window.blit, and we'll pass here as s and the position over here. So it's going to be x, y. All right. So now all we need to do is we need to call this display function in order to see the score. So what we'll do is we'll copy this part over here. Okay, so we are having an error here, syntactical error. Let's see why we are getting that. Okay, that's because we have used lowercase. Let's fix that up. All right, and now we'll call this score method over here at the end. Okay, so let us now quickly run our program and see how it would look like. So as you can see here, we have a scoreboard. So every time I try to attack an alien here, it would reposition itself as well as the score gets increased, right? So yeah. So let me try once more. So as you can see, this is working perfectly fine. Apart from this, you can also add music to your game. It's pretty simple. And you can also add a couple more, complicated logic behind this. But this was the tutorial which is there to give you a basic intuition of how you can work with the images, how you can work with PyGame, and how you can detect collision and create some meaningful data out of it. Alright guys, with this we come to the end of our session. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. If you have any further queries, please do mention them in the comment box below. Until next time, goodbye and take care.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!